Shalom, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get started with a nigun, and I haven't done this one here before. The Schwartzes might know it. So this is an unnamed nigun. Hi, Schwartzes. So please join me. It's very easy to catch on, and it's a nice way to kind of bring us into the spirit of Shabbat. Yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba, yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba. We'll do that again. Yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba, yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba. Oy yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba, yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba. Yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba, yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba. Oy yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba, yai ba bim bam, yai ba ba bim bam, yai ba 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 ba.
Oh, that was beautiful, Cantor. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, dear friends. It's so good to see you all this Shabbat evening. Missed you these past couple of weeks. My family and I took a little vacation, and we were traveling very safely around the California countryside in our car. And but it's so great to see you all and see your faces. Kabbalat Panim, to receive each other's faces this Shabbat and to be together. Hopefully the past 2 weeks went well for you, and we pray tonight Shabbat is a moment of peace and joy and renewal. And tonight we're going to invite in sacred moments, moments of joy and moments of warmth and love and friendship as we sing, as we share together, as we pray, as we share Jewish wisdom and connect with one another. So let's continue with beautiful music that Cantor is providing for us.
Yes, so we're going to move on to page 4 of the Siddur with the prayer Matovu. How divine are your tents, your holy dwellings. Recognizing the value of holy space, which we are creating here together on a virtual space tonight, Matovu. And please feel free to sing along. Matovu ohalach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chasdecha avon beitecha eshtachava lecha kodshecha ve'yiratecha. Ma tovu ohalach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Matovu, how lovely are our tents, as the Torah says, how lovely are our dwellings. that we share together, and to see each of your dwellings, how lovely, how sacred, how joyful it is for us to be together tonight on Shabbat. And you know, there's the tradition on Shabbat when the sun goes down, which is going to go down soon. And we know some folks a little bit east of us in California, the sun has already set, so it is dark. The tradition is that when I'm going to modify this because the tradition is when you're walking home from synagogue, I don't think anybody's doing that tonight, but when you are out and about during Shabbat, that an angel is to your left and to your right, and making this Sabbath all the more sweet, all the more sacred, all the more joyful to you. So we're going to welcome these angels, these Malachei HaShalom, these messengers of peace and wholeness and fulfillment, with the singing of Shalom Aleichem on page 6.
Thank you, Rabbi. And this particular version of Shalom Aleichem may be familiar to some of you, but may be unfamiliar to many of you as well. It's a version of Shalom Aleichem by Nava Tehillah, the Israeli band that has so many wonderful, beautiful melodies. If you're interested in Jewish music, I encourage you to check them out. This is Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us, Cantor. That's a beautiful melody of Shalom Aleichem. Who was it who, I think it was Flo Cohen, who when you mentioned the name of that group, she was like, oh, sure. I'm wondering if anybody else tonight has heard of that group. Could you give us the name of the group again? And if you'd raise your hand if you've heard of them.
Yeah, Nava Tehillah. They're based in Israel, and I've met and heard them play and sung with them live a couple of times before. They share their music in the Jewish community. They do really wonderful work. They're really good at just picking a simple melody that people can all sing along with, and then just building it and building that vibe of what the prayer is trying to express. And it's a really fantastic feeling to be in a room like that with that kind of melody. Even if you don't know the name of the band, I reckon you'll probably know some of their melodies that you've probably heard before.
Oh, yes. And I think Rose, did you have your hand up? Did you? Yes, Rose has heard of, right? Nava Tehillah, you've heard of them, Rose? It's good to see you. Rose Haas, all the way from Washington, D.C. How are you, Rose? Hi, Harley.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Or should I say from Baltimore, Maryland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna be in Baltimore anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm actually going back on Monday, and I
Great.
start work on the 24th.
You start work. Now you've got your master's program, right?
Yeah, so I'll do my master's in Jewish education at Towson, and I'll be teaching full-time as well.
Oh, wonderful. And where are you teaching in Baltimore? At one of the synagogues there?
Yeah, at Baltimore Hebrew Congregation, they have a school attached to it.
Sure. Is that on because I spent a summer in Baltimore in rabbinical school as an intern at their hospital, Sinai Hospital. Is there, and I remember that all those, a lot of those shuls were on the same street.
Yeah.
Is this like Shul Row?
Yeah. It's in Pikesville, and they're like all lined up.
Very nice. Oh, well, it's great. Great to see you, Rose. Thanks for being with us. We wish you a lot of success in your master's studies and in your new job there. That's so great. You're going into Jewish education and to become an educator. The future is in very good hands. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you again for being here. And at this time, we're going to bring in the light and the warmth and the joy of Shabbat, and we are honored to call upon the Spiels, Linda and Dr. Howard. Hi, guys. How are you? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Do you guys want to unmute yourself for a second? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I think we just did.
Okay, wonderful. It's so good to see you. So you're in San Marino right now, correct?
Yes, the Colorado Spiels are in California.
All right. And how are the Colorado Spiels, by the way? How is your family in Colorado?
Too far away.
Oh,
Too far away.
when's the last time you were there?
Well, we saw them in February. It's been a long time.
That is a long time. How old is Sean now?
Almost 15.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Because will always be a year younger than Evan. So they are contemporaries. My son, is he still into Star Wars?
Not as much now. It's more Minecraft and magic cards.
And he's writing his own novel.
He's writing his own novel.
Oh my
He
goodness.
starts high school next year.
At a nice Catholic school.
All right. Well, those Catholic schools provide great education for Jewish students all over the country. So
I guess so.
Well, it's great to see you both. Best to your family. And thank you for bringing in the light and the warmth and the joy of Shabbat tonight.
Thank you for asking us.
Absolutely.
English. In the beginning, there was darkness, and the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness. Then God created light, and the work of creation was begun. As we kindle the Sabbath lights, we remember the majesty of creation and rejoice in our ability to witness it again.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you
The
both.
song blessing. We can keep the candles up on the spotlight so I can make sure I see them.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Well, thank you again, Linda and Howard. And we now move from the Spiel family to all of our families as we now join together in this family blessing at the bottom of page 9. If you're with family, we invite you to gather with them as Cantor leads us in the Sabbath family blessing.
May God bless you and keep you. May he shine his face upon you and grace you. May he lift his presence unto you and grant you peace. May God bless you and keep you. May she shine her face upon you and grace you. May she lift her presence unto you and grant you peace. And grant you peace.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Cantor. And now let's turn to page 13, everybody. Let's turn to page 13. As you know, I love this prayer of gratitude that we have. Judaism teaches us to say 100 blessings a day, 100 expressions of gratitude each and every day for all the goodness and all the wonder in our lives. And I wonder if we can get a couple of volunteers to do this responsibly to people in the same home. Did I see Sarah and Jill Namiro together during that family blessing? Sarah and Jill, would you both like to lead us in this the blessing on the top of page 13?
Oh, I
Am
don't
I putting
have
you on the
it on my
spot?
computer, Rabbi. Wait.
Am I putting you on the spot? It's the top of page 13. So how
Okay.
about whoever wants to go first and do the first paragraph, and then the italics, if the other person can do the second one.
Okay, I'll do the first. Is that okay, Sarah?
Yeah, that's fine.
She's never going to come back in again. Every time I try to get her in for the family blessing,
Oh.
and she's like, she comes in for that and then leaves. I'll never get her to come back. But okay,
Oh,
thank
well,
you,
we're
Rabbi.
going to find ways to keep her here longer.
We thank you, God, for the gift of life. We thank you for the miracle of each new day, the sunrise and sunset, the moon and stars. We thank you for the blessings of family and friends, for all these miracles in our world. Yeah.
Adonai, our God, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks.
Oh, and we thank the two of you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Sarah. Thank you, Jill. Sarah, I haven't forgotten about your wonderful offer to play one of my favorite pieces of classical
I
music.
haven't forgotten that either.
Okay, we'll talk with Cantor and we'll talk more. When would be a good time to do that?
Sure.
Whenever we do it, I know everybody's going to love it, or I hope you're going to love it. So it's good to see you, Sarah. And say hi to Rachel for us.
She's
And
hiking right now.
oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a great way to enjoy Shabbat, enjoy the beauty of the world. That's a very Shabbat-like activity. Well, thank you both again. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Cantor.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Shabbat Shalom. Well, everybody, let's turn to page 14. And I just want you to look at page 14, and we can put that up on the screen, Jason, because everybody knows and loves this prayer, I hope. It's a prayer. It's a statement. It's a verse of Torah. It is, as my rabbi in St. Louis, and I got my brother and sister-in-law on the line who are in that congregation at Temple Israel in St. Louis, and my mom, where we were all raised. My rabbi, Rabbi Alvin Rubin, of blessed memory, used to say in a very deep, sonorous voice, it's the watchword of our faith. I didn't do that very well, but those were the words he said. The watchword of our faith. Have you heard that too, Cantor? Did your rabbi do something like that too?
In fact, I've had the opportunity to be among some other faith communities, and even among some of the Christians, that they even know this prayer, and they even know one of the melodies to the Shema. And I've been at the Mount of Olives, and I heard a Christian group singing the Shema there. It was beautiful.
And
they were from Spain.
You heard that melody before? That was a new melody to you?
The Zolzer, the one that we do during the Torah service. They did that.
A Christian group did that.
Yeah, they knew it, and other people, other Christian groups that I've met, they've heard of it and they wanted to learn it because they think it's beautiful. Wow.
Well, it certainly is, and what a powerful statement to a faith. I like to say, in addition to the watchword of our faith, it's the declaration, it's the affirmation of our faith. I like to tell the kids in religious school, Sarah, I don't know if you remember this in religious school. It's the Jewish declaration. It's our Pledge of Allegiance. I was about to say Declaration of Independence. I'm getting my patriotic things mixed up. It is the Jewish pledge of our allegiance, our affirmation that God is one, and that God created a world that was meant to be one and live in harmony and peace and accord. And what is significant about the Shema tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is it is in this week's Torah portion. It comes from the book of Deuteronomy. chapter 6, verse 4 in the parasha called Ve'et Hanan. And this Torah portion is a blockbuster. There's a lot of great stuff in the Torah portion. There is the Shema, there is the V'ahavta that comes directly after it. And before that, in chapter 5, there is the 10 Commandments restated from the book of Exodus. And we'll talk about that in a second when our V'ahavta chanter joins us in just a moment. But for us just to think about now, the power of these words, it's just 6 words. Take a look at those 6 words. And it's really only 5 words because God's name, Yod He Vav He, his holiest name, that we say Adonai, occurs twice. So it is only 5 different words, but what power. Hear, listen, understand, O Israel. Each one of us is Israel. Understand and take it to heart. Listen, Adonai, the eternal is our God. The eternal is Echad, is one. The power of our faith.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
And you may have noticed when Cantor chanted the Shema, that second line, Baruch Shem, was a little bit softer. And that is the Jewish tradition, to be a little bit softer with Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is the name of God's glorious kingdom forever and ever. It could be translated, blessed is the name of God, the holy name of God that we just said twice with another word. Blessed is God's holy name. God's majesty, God's kavod is forever and ever. You can translate it 2 ways. Now, why does Cantor do it a little bit softer? Well, there are different reasons given for it. There's midrash about why we say it softer, beautiful midrash we can share another time, but I like practical stuff too, as well as spiritual and midrashic and stories. I like practical stuff. Here's the practical reason I think we say it softer. It's not in the Torah. Baruch Shem Kavod is not in the Torah. If you open up a Tanakh, if you open up a Jewish Bible and you look at Deuteronomy 6, it is the Shema, the first line, those 6 words, and then directly after it is not Baruch Shem, it is the V'ahavta directly after it. I think that's why we say it softer, because it's not in the Torah. And the rabbis who created our prayer service hundreds of years ago, they recognized that they were inserting something that was not in the Torah, and out of respect, and I think, and humility, they said, let's say it softer since we inserted it. Let's do it a little bit quieter than what the Torah says. Anyway, that's my take on it. And speaking of the V'ahavta, we are so very honored to now call upon Miss Allie Bodakin. Oh, and we got such a connection with Allie Bodakin and the V'ahavta and this week's Torah portion. Hi, Allie.
Hi.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you.
You too.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Now, I think the last time we all saw you was the end of May. Is this true?
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, I wasn't saying that to guilt you. It's so great to see you just 2 months after you were confirmed. So y'all may remember that Allie and 5 of her friends and classmates were the confirmation class of 2020 at TSG. It was one of the most amazing confirmation services we've ever experienced, and that was due in large measure thanks to Allie and to her friends who made it such a meaningful and creative and sacred, enjoyable moment. And many of us recall Allie's beautiful voice. So my sense is that Miss Maggie Freed, our immediate past president, said, Allie, could you come do it again? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
All right, Maggie remembered how you chanted. So on that day, so we were celebrating Shavuot, traditional to recite the 10 Commandments, right, Allie?
Mm-hmm.
And so you chanted part of the 10 Commandments and you did other stuff, you sang other stuff. And so we just talked about how in this week's Torah portion, it's the repetition of the 10 Commandments. We're not going to ask Allie to do that again tonight, but we would love to have her chant Torah, which is the Via Hafta. So Allie is going to chant Torah tonight, and we'd be so honored to have you lead the Via Hafta on page 15, Allie.
Of course. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. That was wonderful. Thank you. You still got it. You still got it.
Sorry, I messed up a bit,
but can I tell you what, Allie? If we were in the sanctuary, as soon as you launched into the Via Hafta, we would all join you. And that is the challenge with the Via Hafta in the Zoom world. It's solo. And it's hard. I think it's one of the hardest chants that there is. So you were fantastic. You were awesome.
Thank you.
So please know you were great, and we'd love to have you chant Torah. We'd love to have you lead music and do things anytime. And you actually may be getting a phone call from Maggie or Jan Sway, our High Holy Day participant coordinator. So thanks again, Allie. How's everything going? How you doing?
Good. School starts in a few weeks, so I'm not excited.
Oh, okay.
About
And everything's virtual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wishing you a lot of success. You're incoming 11th grader.
Yeah.
A junior. Wow, that's exciting. That's an exciting year. We wish you all a great junior year, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for being here tonight. Shabbat Shalom, Allie.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks. Best to your family. Best to your family. Well, everybody, I was thinking about the Via Hafta this week because it is this week's Torah portion. And I was also thinking about something else because Cantor, Alyssa, and I, and a number of you who are here tonight, we commemorated a Jewish holiday just a few days ago on Wednesday night. And some people commemorated on Thursday day as well. The Jewish holy day of Tisha B'Av that commemorates the destruction of the first and second temples and the exile of the Jewish people. Now, I talked a little bit about before I left to go on vacation. If you were here, you may remember that. I talked a little bit about that. But I was thinking about something different about Tisha B'Av and Via Hafta, and I wanted to share it with you because it's an amazing story. And I'd like everybody to open up your chat box because I want this to be interactive. I want to hear what you think about too, because I'm going to ask some questions, and they're not just rhetorical. So if you can open up your chat box if you haven't already, and feel free to jump in there when I ask you to participate. So it was the autumn of 1990. So that was almost 30 years ago. Something amazing happened in the Jewish world, and it was chronicled, it was documented, there was a best-selling book written about it, and this story still moves me to this day. And so what happened in the autumn of 1990 is that a delegation of Jewish leaders, rabbis and scholars, women and men, amongst most of the denominations of Judaism, were invited to India, to a place called Dharamshala. For those of you who know Hindi, forgive me if I butchered that. I think I got it right. Dharamshala. Does anybody know what took place amongst a group of 8 Jewish rabbis and scholars in Dharamshala? Seth knows. Seth, will you type it in the chat box so everybody can see it? He's typing away. They met with the Dalai Lama. Yes. This group of Jewish scholars were invited by invitation by the Dalai Lama to come meet with him and leaders of his people in exile in India from Tibet, because the Dalai Lama was in exile, right? His people, the Tibetan people, were in exile. The Chinese took over Tibet in 1950. The Dalai Lama fled with a number of the leadership, very similar to how the Jews, the leadership of the Jews were in exile in Babylonian captivity in the 6th century BCE, when they were exiled by the Babylonians and the temple was destroyed in the year 586 BCE. And the Jewish leadership went into exile to Babylon, the place of their captivity, their captors. And then when the Romans destroyed the second temple in the year 70, a lot of the Jewish leadership also left not only Jerusalem, but left Israel. And that's what the Dalai Lama did with the Tibetans. Not every Tibetan left, but there are about 100,000 Tibetan exiles, 150 or 1,000, depending on what you search on Google, 100 to 150,000 Tibetans who are outside of Tibet because they are in exile, and the Dalai Lama is in Dharamshala, the capital of his government and his leadership in exile, and there are about, I think, 10 to 15,000 Tibetans there in Dharamshala. So the Dalai Lama wanted to meet with Jewish leaders because he actually had a number of Jewish folks surrounding him. His doctor is of Jewish origin. He has since, converted to Buddhism, but his personal doctor is Jewish, and his interpreter, one of his interpreters, was also born Jewish. So he was surrounded by Jewish folks. He knew about Judaism. So here's why he invited 8 Jewish rabbis and scholars to Dharamshala. He wanted to know our secret of survival in exile. How did the Jews survive for almost 2,000 years after the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and destroyed the temple in the year 70? How did we survive for almost 2,000 years before Israel became a Jewish state in 1948, the Third Commonwealth? How did we survive? Why didn't Judaism die out? How did we do it? The Dalai Lama was concerned that his Tibetan culture and Tibetan Buddhism would be wiped out by the Chinese and by being in exile. So he was deeply committed to learning the Jewish secret of survival in exile. And that's why he invited 8 rabbis and professors of Judaism to discuss it. Now, they gave different answers as to what allowed Jews to survive in exile. And so here's my non-rhetorical question to you, and please put in the chat box. What answer do you think they gave? How were the Jews able to not only survive almost 2,000 years of exile, but thrive and grow and develop in almost 2,000 years of exile from the Holy Land and from sovereignty in the land of Israel? Flo Cohen said the Sabbath, absolutely. Shabbat. And you may recall, everybody, it was the Zionists of the 20th century And the 19th and 20th century named Asher Ginsburg was his European Jewish name, Asher Ginsburg, but his Hebrew pen name was Achad Ha'am, which means one of the people. Achad Ha'am was one of the spiritual leaders of what's called cultural Zionism. That Judaism as a culture is a culture, and that Jewish culture needed to be renewed, and it could only be renewed in the Holy Land, under sovereignty in the 20th century. And so Achad Ha'am said, more than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. Exactly what Flo said. More than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. So Shabbat was definitely talked about with the Dalai Lama. Our Jewish holy days are what keep our culture and our faith and our traditions alive through 2,000 years. Kim Selfon said community, absolutely. So another answer given by, this was a Rabbi Joy Levitt, a Reconstructionist rabbi from Long Island. She said the synagogue is what has preserved the Jewish people in 2,000 years. We lost our temple, our main Jewish institution, but the synagogue, which had already been developed after the Babylonian captivity, the synagogue was already in existence by the year 70, but it became the new temple in the diaspora, the being exiled from the land of Israel, and during that time. And by the way, the synagogue, that is why most Reform temples are called temples. Temple Israel, Temple Sinai, Temple Emmanuel, Temple Shalom, Temple whatever. That is for a purpose. The Reform movement, when it would really, in the 19th century, the Reform movement said, we don't want to go back to Palestine. We don't want a third temple. We're going to build a new Israel and a new homeland in America, and this is our temple. Now, that was a pretty radical statement, but that's a reason why a number of Reform synagogues are called temples, because their temple, whatever city it's in, this is the new temple. So synagogue, community, Jewish homes and families coming together and celebrating Judaism. That's why Temple Sinai is in existence, right? It was those moms living in Glendale in the 1920s who wanted a community to teach their children about Judaism and to celebrate the holy days and celebrate Shabbat. That's why Temple Sinai is here, because of the need for the recognition that community was going to keep the Jewish families in Glendale and the surrounding area to keep us alive. So community, absolutely. The Torah, Maggie said the Torah, absolutely. Our Torah is portable. We can take it wherever we need to go. We just have to go into the ark and embrace it and take it with us. So Judaism became portable. Again, the rabbis, I keep saying this, the rabbis of the Talmud, the rabbis after the destruction of the temple in the year 70 by the Romans, they recreated Judaism and they made the Torah central. They made the synagogue central, and they made something else central. And it's because they made Judaism portable that it was able to survive. Torah, Talmud, our user's manual, the Talmud, our user's manual for how to live a Jewish life and how to interpret the Tanakh, the Torah, and the Bible. Absolutely, because we have institutionalized, Carolyn Moore-Musa, our Director of Education, we've institutionalized formal occasions for remembering important events in our past. Absolutely. Jewish holy days. Every week we celebrate Shabbat. If you look at a Jewish calendar, we've got, depending on how you count them, we've got about 13 to 14 to 15 Jewish holy days interspersed throughout the Jewish year, each one telling a story, each one having a historical basis to it, as well as an agricultural basis in many cases. But we retell our history each year through our holy days. And by the way, Rabbi David Wolpe, so when the Dalai Lama invited these 8 rabbis and scholars to Dharam Shala, I like saying it, in 1990, he still invites Jewish leaders to Dharam Shala, and he keeps asking the same question. How do you maintain your Judaism and keep it strong in exile? It is a perennial interest of his. So David Wolpe went, that famous Rabbi David Wolpe at Sinai Temple. Cantor Alyssa probably worked with him over the past couple of years. David Wolpe went in about 2018, and he shared with the Dalai Lama and the Dalai Lama's scholars the miracle of Jewish history, right? We have a miraculous history. Why are we still here? The Romans are gone. The Babylonians are gone. I mean, Italians are still here. Iraqis still exist. But those ancient cultures of Rome and Babylon have been destroyed. But Judaism is still here. It is a miracle. Mark Twain wrote about the miracle of the Jew. Why are we still here when other cultures have been destroyed? There is a miraculous element to our history. So back to what Carolyn says, the institutionalizing of the formal occasions to remember our past. It is an amazing past. Cantor, rituals built around our daily lives that keep us engaged. So it's a Judaism that isn't just reserved for the synagogue. It's not just meant for holy days. It's meant to be a daily practice. Judaism is a daily practice. The 613 mitzvot are a daily practice. And Cantor, I'm going to come back to what you said because there's something else that you implied in what you said that I want to see if anybody else said too, because Cantor also said something very, very powerful. In addition to rituals built around our daily lives that keep us engaged. Striking a balance between tradition and evolution. Yes, thank you. Judaism and the Dalai Lama is like this too. He's a big science guy. I love to hear the Dalai Lama say, if science proves something that proves Buddhism wrong about something, we're going to let go of it. And we're going to follow what science and what current discoveries teach us. That's a Reformed Jewish statement right there. If science, I muted myself by mistake. If science has something to teach us that proves something about Judaism wrong, we're going to pay attention to it as Reformed Jews. I talked about this with the Wesleyan Quadrilateral, that a modern Judaism, like Methodism, is about scripture and tradition and reason and experience. And the Dalai Lama, I think, would concur with a lot of that, certainly about reason and experience, and certainly, I'm sure, about scripture and tradition. So striking a balance between tradition and evolution. You can be a good Jew without, keeping all the mitzvot and being a so-called traditional Jew. You can be a very active, engaged, serious Jew without, dare I say it, even believing in God. God's important, but there have been plenty of great Jews who were atheists, but they're still great Jews. So that's Judaism's adaptability for all time. So striking a balance between tradition and evolution, and I'll add to that, a balance between tradition and modernity, right? Adapting to the modern world, keeping Judaism relevant, engaged, current, changing it, reforming it when we have to, and conserving it when we should. All those things. Okay, the 4 pillars, there you go. So my sister-in-law Betsy mentioned that. Betsy, thank you, you read my mind. What does the word synagogue mean literally? It's a Greek word. It means a place to gather. It's a place of assembly. It's a gathering place. And that too is the power of the synagogue. We don't just come together for holy days. We don't just come together to learn about Judaism. Those are 2 important pillars. But we come together to assemble and to be with each other, to celebrate with each other, to share each other's lives. So that is a pillar of Judaism, a Beit Knesset, right? A Knesset, the name of the parliament in Israel, the Knesset, the Congress, it also means a place of assembly, a house of assembly, a Beit Knesset. It comes from Greek, meaning bring together. Very good. All right. Thank you, Emil. The best examples are Hanukkah and the Passover Seder. Thank you, Carolyn. This is what I want to, and I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to get to what Carolyn said. about Hanukkah and Passover, because there was a rabbi at that delegation named Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, a blessed memory. A lot of you may know that name, Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi. He created a new movement in Judaism almost single-handedly. Other people helped. Shlomo Karlbach helped. Other people helped. It's called Jewish Renewal. And he almost single-handedly created that denomination of Judaism, Jewish Renewal, in our lifetime. He was on that delegation. And what inspired me is I want to share with you all what he had to say about what the Dalai Lama needs to do to keep the Tibetan faith and culture alive. I'm going to get to that in 2 seconds. I'm going to quickly go through other answers. The realization that Jews were important and valuable to whatever nation culture they resided in, and so we're allowed to thrive until the nations kicked us out. Yes, Larry, the Jewish people have something to contribute to every culture. And we have contributed to every culture in a profound way, well beyond our numbers in the cultures that we reside in, when they'll let us, when they will let us. So thank you, Larry. Yes. Bar and bat mitzvah, passing along, lador vador. Thank you, Jill. Absolutely. We make this important to our children, as Allie. You know, Maggie reaching out to Allie after her confirmation and saying, would you lead us? Absolutely. Sarah being here and sharing with you in the prayer, and our other, you know, children who once they're beyond confirmation, they still are attached to their Judaism thanks to their parents and thanks to their community who showed them that Judaism has value to their lives. So now let's go back to what, so I want to do what Cantor Alyssa said, and then I want to get to Reb Zalman and what Carolyn said. So to what two of my colleagues have mentioned. Cantor Alyssa, when she's talking about engaging in Jewish ritual in our everyday lives, the home, the Jewish home. And it was Rebbetzin Blue Greenberg, Dr. Blue Greenberg, Yitz Greenberg's wife. You may know of Blue Greenberg. She's got several great books out there, and anything that Blue or Yitz Greenberg write, I highly recommend it to you. Two Orthodox leaders and scholars. Blue Greenberg told the Dalai Lama, it is the Jewish home. You've got to find a way to bring your culture and your faith into every home of a Tibetan exile, and you will keep your faith and your culture alive. One of the most powerful answers given to the Dalai Lama, the Jewish home. And again, it was the rabbis who said, we no longer have a temple, but we have a synagogue and we have a Jewish home. And we had a high priest in the temple, and now in our home, everyone in that home can be a high priest. And the altar that the high priest did the animal sacrifices and the grain sacrifices on, our new altar is the kitchen table and the dining room table. And each one in our family can be a priest. That was the genius of our rabbis. They brought it into the home. So thank you, Cantor, for that. And Blue Greenberg, thank you for that. And now to Carolyn in Passover. Here's what Reb Zalman said, and when I read this, it floored me. I've never forgot it. I read this book. It came out. There's a book called The Jew and the Lotus by Roger Kamenetz, and I recommend that book to you. And he recounts this amazing delegation, and he recounts in about 300 pages the dialogue with the Dalai Lama and these Jewish leaders. It's called The Jew and the Lotus. There's Reb Zalman. And he grew up in the Hasidic world. He was a Chabad guy, and he sort of charted his own path. He was interested in Eastern religion. So he was a big meditator and a big chanter and drummer and yoga guy. And that's why he created Jewish Renewal, which was a combination of Hasidic Judaism and Eastern religion and 60s New Age flower power stuff. And I say that with love and not disparagingly, but that was Reb Zalman. And Reb Zalman said to the Dalai Lama, you need to create a Seder. You need to create a Tibetan Seder where you gather in your homes, back to what Cantor and Blue Greenberg said, create a Seder, gather in your homes with your generations of your family, and you tell the story of your Tibetan culture and your faith and your people. And like I say, when I read that, it just floored me. It gives me goosebumps. I mean, my voice is cracking even just recounting the story right now. That's the power of our Passover Seder, by the way. the power of our Seder to be with family members. It's one of the most celebrated Jewish holidays. And Carolyn mentioned the other one, lighting the Hanukkah candles and participating in a Passover Seder. One could argue what Carolyn said, maybe those two things alone can keep Jews Jewish. And obviously Sabbath and music and prayer and study and everything else that's a part of Jewish culture. But when Reb Zalman said you need to create a Seder, you know, I think he hit the nail on the head, because the Seder combines everything. I mean, not everything. It combines Jewish music. It combines prayer. It combines Jewish texts. It combines Torah and Talmud. It combines the Hebrew language, which we didn't talk about. It combines storytelling. It combines the family and the home. It doesn't really combine the synagogue. That's the one piece that's missing. But, you know, we also go to synagogue during Passover as well. But if you think about it, everything, most of what makes Judaism great is in the Passover Seder. It's not everything, but it's a lot. Now, here's what I looked up today. Are Tibetans practicing a Seder? You can search it too. I didn't find that they are, but a lot of Jews have added next year in Lhasa to their Seders, and Lhasa is the capital of Tibet. So I think Jews have seen that connection and remember that story of the Dalai Lama meeting with these folks. And so we have, in some Seders, Tibet is mentioned. I don't know if Tibetans are really doing a Seder, but it doesn't minimize that amazing piece of wisdom by Reb Zalman. And I see that the Bodakin family has that book by Roger Kamenetz on their shelf, The Jew and the Lotus. And now you want to read it. I hope if that's Allie talking, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's Jessica talking, but hopefully Allie will want to read it. Yes.
Well, and I will thank you, Jessica. I was going to say it's not an easy read. I mean, Roger Kamenetz is a poet and he's a lit professor, but it's not an easy read. It's long, and it's got some great stuff in there. And I just that's great. Yeah. It's a movement, Heather Halperin. It's a movement away from slavery to freedom, and certainly the Tibet are oppressed as Jews have been are. Absolutely. And that's why I say our foundational story, from slavery to freedom. It's an inspiration for liberation movements throughout the world and throughout history. As I mentioned during the 4th of July ceremony, it inspired the founders of this country in profound ways. And I will tell that story again and again because it's one of my other favorite stories. The power of our foundational story of the Exodus. It's a story for all people, and definitely for the Tibetan people. So thank you, everybody. You guys got it. You know what? You all could have gone to Dharamshala with that delegation, and you would have nailed it too. And the Dalai Lama, you can still go. You can still visit him. I mean, when it's safe to visit. But we'll continue to tell the story and continue to think about each in our own way. You know, what is so special about Judaism that we want to preserve it, and we don't just want it to we don't just want to survive, we want to thrive. What makes us thrive as Jews in our families, in our community, and individually? And you all are a part of that. So thank you for sharing that. And then one last thing just to follow up with, because I made this interactive. Was Shlomo Carlebach there with Zalman? No, as far as I know, Shlomo wasn't. Shlomo Carlebach, the great composer and Rebbe and singer-songwriter, he was not there. But I'll tell you who was there. A guy named, does anybody know this name? He was big in LA. He's since passed away. Rabbi Jonathan Omerman. Does anybody know that name? He had a place called Metifta, just like Carolyn has here at Temple Sinai, the Academy. Metifta. It was in West LA. Jonathan Omerman, a Jewish meditation, big Jewish renewal guy too. I had the pleasure when I first came to LA, I sought out Jonathan Omerman and Metifta because I'd read about it in The Jewel and the Lotus. I studied with him a little bit when I was on the West Side, and Metifta, I think, still meets, but Jonathan Omerman, unfortunately, has since passed away, and as has Zalman and Shlomo Carlebach. I mean, a lot of these guys have passed away. Yitz Greenberg may live to be 120. Blue Greenberg, may she live to be 120, and some other folks who were there, but we can talk more about that. Thank you all for sharing this. You can tell the rabbi's back. We got a longer Shabbat service. I apologize. But thank you for the conversation and the discussion. Let us, Cantor, now share some beautiful music that keeps Judaism alive as well in so many powerful ways. Cantor.
Yes, happy to. So in a moment, you'll have it up on the screen. A few of you have heard this one before. This is called Shelter, Ufros Aleinu, which is an excerpt from the Hashkivenu nighttime prayer. And it's a prayer for comfort at nighttime when things can be a little bit uncertain. So please join me. You have the words right in front of you. We need your strength tonight, as we do every night. Shelter us. Please grant us peace of mind, all worries far behind. Shelter us. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Please guard this night of rest. Let it be one that's blessed. Shelter us. Let us lie down in peace. Let pain and violence cease. Shelter us. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us with your peace. Amidst uncertainty, we need security. Please shelter us.
Thank you, Cantor. That was beautiful. Thank you. And I hope you all saw that said composed by Cantor Alyssa Rosenbaum. So thank you for sharing that with us. What beautiful, beautiful music that you sing and what beautiful music that you compose. And we are blessed to have you share it with us and for you to be with us. Thank you. Well, with that beautiful music and let's ringing in our ears and in our hearts and our minds, let's spend a few moments now, each one of us, in our very own personal silent prayer and contemplation.
Hopefully you've had sufficient time to come through your Shabbat meditation, personal meditations. We're found now on page 19 with Shalom Rav, one of the prayers that we use, a prayer for abundant peace, a prayer that we have at the end of the Amidah typically. So please join me. Do we want to put it up on the screen so people can see? Shalom Rav, page 19. There we go. Thank you. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech hador lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech hador lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Well, as we pray for peace, we now think of the peace and wholeness that people that we know and care about are in need of, the healing of body and the healing of spirit and a return to health and wellness. I know, I'm sure most of us heard, the statistics this week of now over 150,000 deaths due to COVID-19 in America, over 4.5 million confirmed cases. So we continue to pray for all of those suffering from this pandemic, and we also pray for all those people that we know and care about who are sick or injured, that are in need of our healing prayers and God's healing presence. So we invite you at this time to please turn to page 22 as we join in the Misha Berach prayer of healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
And we now invite you to offer the names in the chat box of people that you know and care about who are in need of a healing of body or a healing of spirit, or both. And as we look at their names, we think of them, we pray for them. As we invite you to continue to put names in the chat box, we also are thinking of all of our temple members listed here who are in need of healing, all of our family members who are in need of healing. And I'm thinking of my mom, Marcia Schechter, there in St. Louis at my brother Mike's house. Thinking of my mom, I know we're all thinking of family members who are in need of healing. And we're also thinking of the friends and co-workers here in our list who are also all in need of healing, as we now continue this prayer of healing together for all who are in our hearts.
Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We pray that they are all healed. Well, as you all know, Jewish worship is never complete until we think of people that we've loved and lost, family members who have died, friends who have passed, members of our community who have passed, members of every race and nation who are a blessing to humanity. We think of them now, we honor them through our memory and through our prayer. As I mentioned the name of a loved one who has passed, I invite you to please stand, and then we'll all stand together to recite the Kaddish prayer. This Shabbat, we remember John Lewis. We remember Eugene Gans, Stephen Strauss. We remember Donald Allen Pocock, Susan Smith, Cecilia Carpenter. We remember Alan Loibin, Patricia Jacobson, Florence Schwartz, Claire Cohen. We remember Peggy Nichols, Lance Gershon, Simone Roman, Debbie Blake, Rachel Gottlieb, Rabbi Marvin Gross, Susan Solomon, Letitia Sierra, and Asher Fawcett. And we're also thinking of those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, is commemorated this week. We remember Ralph Weinberg and Leah Weinberg, Max Tratner, Richard Crawford. We remember Elaine Lowenthal. We remember Mary Costanza. We remember Christine Mulholland, Annette Lila Ryan, Paul M. Silberberg, Esther Eisner, Jenny Markowitz, Jerry Stein. We remember Rabbi Carol Myers. And we remember Rebecca Cooten, Nathan Axel, Jeanette Drucker, Louis Gordon, Leo Kess, Minette Rivkin, and David Sternsayer. And we invite you to also mention the names of folks that you're thinking about that we didn't mention by name. So if you're mourning a loss, we invite you to please also put their name in the chat box. And we think of them, we remember them. Olivia de Havilland and Elaine Scharf. Well, for all of them, let's now stand together as we turn to page 24 in our prayer booklet, page 24. The Kaddish prayer, we thank God that they were all with us. Together we pray. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divara chirute v'amlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn. May we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen. And please be seated, everybody.
We're
going to pick back up where we left off at the end of the Kaddish with their prayer for peace, Oseh Shalom, which is right there on the same page, page 24. I'll put it up on the screen in case you want it. Oseh Shalom Bimramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Well, at this time, we are honored to call upon Vice President at Temple Sinai, Mr. Emil Mertzel.
Thank you, Rabbi, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi and Cantor, for a wonderful service. You have just a few announcements. First, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the temple, the sponsors of the virtual Oneg. We have Kathleen and Scott Richland in memory of Kathleen's sister, Christine Mulholland. We have Marilyn Silva in honor of her husband Ben's 92nd birthday and the birth of his great-granddaughter Cecilia. We have Mark and Tina Lowenthal for the yard site of Mark's mother, Elaine Lowenthal, and Joyce and Larry Moskowitz for the yard site of Joyce's mother, Mary Costanza. Thank you all very much. And just a few upcoming events, and you can find links to all of these on the leaflet that was emailed. We have the Minyan Torah study Saturday, that's tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. The Social Action Emotional Resiliency Series, Monday at 7 p.m. Rabbi's Spiritual Nourishment Program, Tuesday at 7 p.m. And that's all. Have a wonderful week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Emil. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Best to you and your family. And thank you so much for doing that. And Mr. Ben Silva, 92 years young. Hey, congratulations. Kol hakavod, all the honor, Ben. Hey, Ben, can you unmute yourself and say hi to everybody? What an achievement.
Yeah. Nobody told me I was 92.
This is news to you, huh, Ben?
You can hear you.
Well, Ben, you are an inspiration. You are an inspiration to I think just about all of us. And you know, may we all live to have such a blessed life and to be so wise and to be so kind and to be such a mensch.
I keep telling myself that every day.
Well, absolutely. May you live to be 120 with the strength of a 20-year-old, Ben.
I think of the wise men and all their old ages, and I hope to achieve their age at some point in time.
Well, you are a very wise man, and I'll share with everybody, Ben, sends me great articles, very thoughtful, thought-provoking articles that he reads. He is so well read and is like I say, an inspiration, Ben. So happy 92nd birthday and congratulations also to you and Marilyn on the birth of your great-granddaughter Cecilia. And we look forward to celebrating with you all many, many simchas together.
Thank you, Rabbi.
It's my sister's birthday today, too.
Hey, congratulations, Cantor. Which sister?
Huh?
Which one, Becca?
Yeah, the oldest, yeah.
Okay,
Oldest
well,
sister.
happy birthday to her. That's wonderful. That is great. Well, and so in celebration of your sister, in celebration of Shabbat and everything, Cantor, do you have your Kiddush cup? Are you ready to do some
Yes.
Kiddush in our
Raise your
closing
hands if you
song
wanna go
before
grab
Oneg?
yours. Bring your Kiddush cup and we'll do our short Kiddush. Hopefully everyone has their wine or grape juice nearby. And we'll do this together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
L'chaim. Well, Cantor, you got a fun closing song.
I do, and many of you have heard this one before. It's my favorite tune to use for Adon Olam, the famous Scarborough Fair canticle, made famous by Simon and Garfunkel. So I'm sure many of you know this tune, and please do sing along. And we'll put the words up on the screen. It's on page 26 in your Siddur. So we'll all be able to see the words together on the screen in just a moment. Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra V'yein nasav v'chavto kol Azai malach shemo nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד אין שני להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצורך לי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אבקי רוחי והייתי שם בעירה ועם רוחי גוויעתי אדוני לי ולא אירא
Thank you, Cantor, and thank you to Lyndon Howard Spiel and Ali Bodakin and Emil Mertzel and Jill and Sarah Namiro, our virtual ONEX sponsors, and to Jason Marks, our communications director, and our goodbye. Cantor, what was that term that we heard? Zigabye? A virtual goodbye, a virtual somebody who helps everybody in the sanctuary.
Zumbai.
What's it called, Maggie?
Zumbai.
A Zumbai. All right, Jason's our Zumbai. Thank you all so much. And Jason, as our Zumbai, can you unmute everybody so we can all wish each other Shabbat Shalom before we go to Oneg?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.